Hey everyone, Wednesday, January 27th, 2021. Raptors are losers to the Milwaukee Bucks, 115 to 108. Raptors sit at 7-11, lost to the Bucks 11-6. Giannis went off, almost had a triple-double, 24, 18, and 9. Raptors were led by Kyle Lowry today, as usual, whenever he's healthy. Kyle did have himself a really good game, actually, on both sides of the floor. Read out the numbers here: 21, 6, and 3. He ended up nailing 6 out of 8 3-pointers. He really kept them in, especially in the fourth quarter on, like I said, both sides of the ball. Really instrumental in their defense today, although they did give up the 115 points. A lot of it really was in transition. I want to talk about fast break points for the Raptors. Zero. Zero fast break points for the Raptors. Not a typo. And 17 to the Bucks. Now, if you can even cut that in half, you win the game. You get 2 points and you cut that in half, you win the game. A lot of issues here for the Raptors. And I came on a few games ago and I was just saying how I love their defensive intensity against Indiana. And they looked really good. And at points today, they looked really good as well. Now, the Raptors were missing OG Anunoby. And he's obviously maybe the biggest clog in their defense. Best wing defender for sure. But Norm stepped up today. 26 points, shot 8 for 13, 5 threes today. His numbers, if you look at them as a starter as opposed to coming off the bench, night and day. And I think at this point, Nick Nurse really needs to realize that and go with a smaller lineup with Norm, Kyle, OG, Fred, and probably you can't bring Siakam off the bench making like $30 million. So I think that he's going to have to maybe start at center against the lineups that he can, and then Baines against some of the muscle, and then you're kind of forced to bring Norm off the bench. But between the zero fast break points for the Raptors and my God, free throws, 12, so 10 for 12 free throws for the Raptors for the game. Now we've seen players, guys like James Harden, get to the line anywhere 15 to 20 times. Usually the best player on every team will get to the line 10 to 12 times a game. Unacceptable. Zero free throws in the fourth quarter. You can't win like that. And if you watch the game, you really saw this team, once again, I talked about this on an earlier podcast, zero creativity. They chucked, and I'm not making this up. I am not making this up. Let me get the stat. The Raptors shot like 44 three-pointers, 55 three-pointers today. 94 field goals and 55 threes. If that's not screaming we can't put the ball on the floor again, beat anybody off the dribble, I don't know what is. I'm laughing because it's really funny. I've been doing a lot of clips, kind of just like breaking down plays on the offensive and defensive possessions for the Raptors. And I want to kind of talk about Pascal now for a second because he's, obviously struggled ever since, I guess we used the bubble as the time where he's kind of his plays tapered off. But even this season, he's shown some games where he's bounced back 25, 30 points. Today was not one of those games. On both sides, defensively he was okay, but offensively, numbers here: 11 points, 9 rebounds, shot 5 for 12, 1 for 4 from 3. Did not get to the line at all. That's really the telling stat there. He's very passive. He's very timid. He has zero confidence, and a few plays that I kind of not drew up, but that I kind of went through. He was not wide open, but he got a 3-pointer. He was, no man was on him. He should have shot the ball, didn't shoot it, hesitated, looked at options, waited, 3-4 seconds. By that point, he had a closeout and bricked the 3. The other time was he was in the corner on an offensive possession. I believe it was in the third quarter. Kyle beat his man off the dribble on the opposite side, kicked it out to him, and he beat the closeout, went around to him. The defender ended up coming, which ended up being Brook Lopez. He met him at the rim. Now, you're going against a guy that's 7'1". Brook Lopez has to have a 7+ wingspan. He's going to meet you at the rim. There's not really much you can do. But I wanted to touch on, in terms of Pascal's growth and kind of linking that to DeMar's, what we saw, Raptors fans saw from DeMar, the biggest growth I've seen from him was his playmaking ability. And early in his career, he was similar to Chris Boucher right now, where it's just get the ball, chuck it. And Chris has been doing a good job, so this is not about him, but just being able to kind of recognize what the defense is giving you and having the IQ to then make that decision as to, am I going to put the ball on the floor? Am I going to kick it out to someone else? Take the shot, do a shot fake, maybe cross someone over. And that's really what I think that Pascal needs to kind of look at now, because DeMar's growth has been as an assist guy. We see him now, and if you look at his stats, I want to say he's averaging 5, 6, 7 assists a game, and nobody would have thought that when he's coming out of USC in his first few years with the Raptors, even towards the end of his tenure with the Raptors. Really only saw that in his last year or two with Toronto, his ability as a playmaker. Most of the time that came only because he beat his guy off the dribble. He'd have so many guys swarming, collapsing in the lane that you take a few offensive fouls. Your coach probably shows you the tape and says, "Hey, DeMar, like you've beaten a few guys off the dribble. What can we do now to keep that possession? Okay, let's not take that charge or charge at the defensive opponent and kick it out to someone, because that's going to get you an easy assist. If Norm's man's in the corner and he's sending off him to kind of collapse on you, pass it to him. I bet you're going to get these assists." And that's what Pascal's really going to need to do now, because guys are meeting him at the rim, and you don't want to challenge everybody because you're not going to beat everybody. At the same time, you don't want to pass all the time. So that's really the balance that Pascal's going to have to find to take that next step in his career, because right now he's kind of plateaued, and he needs to make that next step for the Raptors and for his own career. So that's going to be something to kind of look for as the season progresses. Is he going to put in those adjustments? We know he's put in the work in off seasons. He's a guy that has a good work ethic, but now it's not, like I said, it's not the skill set. It's more of the mental game of being able to make these decisions on the fly, which I've talked about. What separates the really elite players in the league as opposed to the guys that are just above average players, and taking that next step. Because if Pascal's going to be an all-star again, he's going to need to make these adjustments because the league has adjusted to him as an offensive player. So looking forward with the Raptors, I can pull up their schedule, but as I've said before, things don't really get any easier. But the Raptors' effort has been really good. You watch the game and you see how they really battled back in the fourth quarter. They had a lead at one point in the second half, not a big one, but this team continues to fight, and that's something that Raptors fans have to kind of be proud of. This isn't a team that's laying down like they did early in the season, trying to find their identity. I think now they see that they might not have the talent to beat a team like the Bucks night in and night out, but this is coming down to a few possessions at the end of the game, and going against a team like the Bucks that between them and Philly probably going to be the Eastern Conference Final. These are just teams that you want to eventually you're going to get some wins, you hope, but just be in these games, grow with some of these young guys. Stanley Johnson had another solid game today defensively. Like I said, OG wasn't really available. Terrence Davis had his times, but ended up shooting 3 for 9, forced a few shots, had a very nice crossover step back at the top of the 3-point line. Boucher 10 and 3, not his greatest game either, 3 for 9 from the line. Fred, defensively, I went through him. He was really good on the defensive end, but 10 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, looks good there. But he shot 3 for 17 today and 2 for 11 from 3. Need Fred to bounce back against a tough and very big guards from the Bucks today. But Raptors schedule next few games. So they got Sacramento, should win that game. Orlando hasn't been the same since a good start. So these are 3 games here. They got 2 against Orlando, possibly winnable games if the Raptors want to get back into this playoff picture. Sacramento, Orlando, and then a bit of a road trip. Every game's a road trip for the Raptors, but Brooklyn, Atlanta, Memphis, tough matchups there. Memphis is really getting healthy now. And then Washington, Brad Beal dropped 40 plus tonight. Apparently supposed to ask for a trade. I want Igor to talk about that because I can go in on players asking for trades for a while. But Brad Beal, for sure, probably one of the top 10, 15, probably for sure players in the league. Been in Washington for a long time, hasn't seen much change. And then Boston, winnable game against Minnesota. And then you got 2 games here against Milwaukee again. So like I said, the next 3 games are really, if the Raptors are going to make any kind of push, need to win at least 2 or 3 there. And then they're going to have a tough stretch with the other opponents. But I did tune into the 76ers and the Lakers today, cue the jersey. I ended up driving to Philly to actually get this jersey back in 2016 and watch the Raptors take a tough loss there. But Joel Embiid's been one of my favorite players for a long time. And he's finally, after last season not making an All-NBA team, took it personally. He finally got himself into elite shape because he's been a little bit overweight in his career. We've seen that with his minutes. They've kind of fluctuated. And for a guy with all that talent, there's not many players in the league that should be better than him at that center position. Jokic is a guy that is in the same conversation. Anthony Davis as well. And to be honest, that's pretty much it. Giannis not really playing that center position. But he's taken his game to the next level. And the 76ers beat the Lakers today. And the Lakers, I think, are regular season wise, best team in the league, won the championship last season. But the 76ers are a team that really, I think, matches up well against the Lakers if the Lakers do make it back to the finals. They have the size. Now, I know that they lost, Jimmy Butler 2 seasons ago, but they were, possibly that Kawhi bounce on the rim, that shot from winning a championship themselves. Raptors were pretty lucky to obviously go to the finals and then win that series. But, fate wasn't on their side. But now you're looking at it, Tobias Harris hits the game winner today. He's really taken that next step, at least as, a bit more consistent of a scorer. He's a guy that's 6'8", that can at least do a passable job defending. Ben Simmons, one of the best defenders in the league. If we're seeing a finals matchup here, he's going to go against LeBron. That's going to be, get your popcorn ready. It's going to be really good to watch. And Joel Embiid going against Anthony Davis, another, really good matchup of, two of the best bigs in the league. So Philly, like I said, they were up in the game. I'm surprised that it went down to that last second shot. Philly here sitting at first place in the East, 13-6, 107-106 win over the Lakers. And Ben Simmons ends up getting a triple-double. It's been interesting to watch Philly because how Doc Rivers has kind of managed Ben Simmons, because Ben Simmons, since he came to the league, has been a guy that's averaged pretty much 20, 10, and 7, something like that. But really, they've taken his role offensively and kind of made him, since he's a non-shooter, taken his field goals and kind of dropped them, made him not the focal point of the offense. And they focus on Joel Embiid, which has obviously been incredible for them this season. Embiid's having the best season of his career, 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 31 minutes. Like, the guy's just been on another level. Between him and Defensive Player of the Year, it's got to be him and Miles Turner right now. But like I said, the Lakers' Marc Gasol played 24 minutes in this game, did an okay job guarding him. But Joel Embiid's really having his way against anybody in the league these days. Simmons, like I said, the triple-double. Tobias Harris, 24 points, including the game winner. And the Sixers right now, what they have that they haven't had in a long time is the three-point shooting. They addressed that with Danny Green. I know that your Raptors fans know him, Lakers fans know him. He hasn't really had the best track record in the playoffs. The past, 2 seasons, I guess. He had his moments with the Raptors. But today, from three-point line, shot 4 and 9. And then they brought in some other guys too. Maxey didn't play too many minutes today, but Seth Curry kind of adjusting to get back into the lineup after he had COVID. I think statistically he was the best three-point shooter in the league last year. So these are the guys that are going to give Philly the space when they have such big bodies on the interior and on the wing. And that, I think, is what they haven't had since Embiid and Simmons have been in the league. That's what they've needed to get to that next level. Now that they have that, the team looks like I said, they focused their offense to be centered around Joel Embiid as opposed to Ben Simmons, and paying off dividends. And this is the team here that I predicted, and some other people predicted to get to the finals last year, but it didn't end up working out. New coach, like I said, new shooters as well. This might be a finals matchup here. I talked to Zane, who I talk to every day, and about basketball, and he had said that Lakers-Bucks were going to be his final pick. It's going to be interesting for me, at least, to see if the Clippers do play the Lakers in the West Final, if the Lakers can beat them, because the Clippers play their best basketball against the Lakers. They kind of play up or down to the competition. Clippers this year, they started off a little bit slow, but sitting in third place right now. And wow, the Utah Jazz 13-4. I'll talk about them in a different podcast. They've been on another level. Donovan Mitchell sat out today, but been on a different level. So Lakers here 14-5. Clippers almost an identical record, 13-5. We've seen the Jazz in the playoffs blow a 3-1 lead last time to Denver, but like I said, getting back to that finals picture, if the Lakers can get past the Clippers, more so if the Clippers can make it to the West Final, it's going to be a great matchup to see them go against each other in a real, playoff setting and not in the bubble, which we didn't even get a chance to see last year. And then, like I said, the Phillies' size going up against the Lakers, because that's what the Lakers have. They have LeBron and AD for sure, but they just have so much size at every position. And I think that Philly is the one team, other than the Clippers, that can really give them a bit of a run for their money. So that's going to be something to watch. Other than that, I want to wrap it up. Don't want to take too long on this pod, but hopefully you guys are going to tune into the next few Raptors games. I'll give my take on how they're looking after that. But like I keep saying, and like I've said before, this wouldn't be a bad year for the Raptors to continue to play hard for sure. But just, I don't think they need to tank, because, their talent level kind of shows where they are. I don't know if they're a playoff team. Right now they're sitting in 11th. What are they? One game out of of 8th place, and one game out of 13th with the Miami Heat, another team that due to COVID they've really taken a big step back. But I think that the Raptors, no matter how they play, as long as they keep playing hard, they're going to be a team that's going to be on the bubble to make the playoffs. I still don't think they get in. We're going to have to see what the schedule is looking like on the second half because the NBA hasn't released that yet. But other than Washington, who's an atrocious team, Detroit's really picked it up a little bit. They're playing more competitive games. Minnesota's terrible. New Orleans, we really expected more from them with Zion and Ingram this season, but they haven't taken that next step. They've been really bad. But getting back to the Raptors, I just don't think that fans don't have much to worry about in terms of will this team tank, because there's no need to tank. They play hard every game. You're still going to lose your fair share of games. That being said, guys, appreciate you guys for tuning in today, and we'll talk with you guys in a few days. Thanks for tuning in on the block. Take care.